Tiny Bunny. According to the Steam store page, this overwhelmingly positive game is a non-linear horror visual novel, and those who've heard the voices of the forest are beyond help. Let's see exactly what Tiny Bunny has to offer. Language. Ah, yes, language. English. I guess. I don't know. I don't know what that is. Italian, Chinese, English, and Russian. So I guess we're going with English. Warning: this game contains offensive language and scenes of physical and psychological violence. Proceed with caution. All right, I'm proceeding with caution. Just right off the bat. Right off the bat, we got the dude here. Let's take a look at the settings. As we do, we have music, sound, voice, speed, skip, read text, everything. Okay. Interesting. Not too much to the settings, but it is a visual horror novel, so let's get it started, yeah? Let's see what Tiny Bunny has to offer. Does it have stuff to offer? I don't know. Should I not be talking? Should I be reading everything? I'm not 100% certain. I'm not 100% certain. The wind clawed at my window all night long. I don't know if this is what type of voice this person's supposed to have. Is there an auto read? Oh, I just click on the screen. It wandered the fields and howled like a hungry beast. An endless song weaved from all sorts of voices, shrill, gentle, sneery, twined in the air, twinned in the air, twined in the air. Listen, if you're coming here for immaculate reading and pronunciation, I'm not either of them. They were shouting and laughing and arguing about something. Someone was running through the snow while casting long shadows that would occasionally creep close to my bed. Our house had a mind of its own, the creaky old mind of a building that had seen lots in its days and was seemingly trying to share its wisdom with its inhabitants. The lonely house faced the forest, and the dark green thicket gazed back with its hollow eyes, rustling, whizzing, swaying back and forth. One could come and stand at the edge of the forest to reassure themselves there was nobody behind the crooked trees. Fuzzy silhouettes swaying in the wind couldn't possibly do any harm. It's just a play of light and shadow. Just a play. I knew it was just my imagination. I was already 12 after all. Still. Episode 1. The Owl Will Arrive. Okay, alright. It's off to a nice start. We enjoy this. What's going on exactly? Am I supposed to be clicking? Oh, I was supposed to click. Okay. Wait a minute. Is this me? There's voice acting? Okay. Hey, put away your book.
Сколько раз говорила, не читай за столом, вредно. Сидишь, сутулился весь.
I wasn't expecting voice acting. How many times have I told you not to read at the table? It's bad for your health. Look at how you slouched you are. Is this propaganda for slouchers and reading at the table? Maybe I want to take my book, yeah? Maybe I want to take my book and slouch down. What's the issue with that, huh? I call shenanigans. No, you can slouch at the table, whatever. Read the book how you want to read it. You ain't harming anybody else slouching over. Get out of here. Anyways. Oh, I can hide the book. Okay, so this is my sister, I'm presuming, or a family member of some sorts. This is I'm I'm assuming blonde Harry Potter. He's still slouched over. I didn't protest and put the book about Conan the Barbarian aside. Who reads Conan the Barbarian at, I'm assuming, breakfast? I shouldn't talk. I've never actually read Conan the Barbarian, but I'm pretty sure the books were rather violent, no? I'm fairly positive they were. I was stuck on a line I couldn't understand after reading it 3 times anyway. Olia had already finished her breakfast and was munching on some cookies. She was so enthusiastic, she almost looked like your typical girl from commercials. What does a typical girl from a commercial look like? Oh my god, was it Kylie Jenner that had that commercial with the Pepsi where she gave the riot police a Pepsi and they all started dancing? I'm pretty sure it was. Okay.
Пока не съешь, из-за стола не встанешь.
You're not going anywhere until you finish all of it. Okay, Mom's a bit of a control freak. Got it. I, on the other hand, was trying to drill a hole into the plate with my eyes as if it would make the porridge disappear. Hazy anxiousness welled up inside, all because of the previous sleepless night, the black forest around our house, and the gloomy wind. The longer I waited, the colder the lumpy white substance became. It looked like a jellyfish from the Coste Odyssey? Costas? Kustai? I don't know how to pronounce this. Odyssey. I love that show. Apparently I love it though. I wonder how horrifying the bottom of the ocean is. It's terrifying. And you get squished into like the pressure would just like compress yourself. It's gross. Don't do it. Or how cold the black forest is at night. People do die of hypothermia being outside. So unless you're well provisioned, I would not go into the forest at night, especially if it's a colder area. Now, if it's a warmer area, probably not so much. But I would assume we're probably somewhere in like Eastern Europe, Russia. So it probably gets pretty cold. So you want a nice jacket. The spoon fell out of my hand. It's that poor posture. Mom showered me with a cold glare from her green eyes.
Что я говорила?
What did I just say?
Я достану.
Ew, is that our voice? Ya dostanno. I'll get it. I had 10 seconds to catch my breath before battling the nasty porridge once again. I'm not doing that voice. I felt around for the spoon. What is this carved on the other side of the table? Karina. That's creepy. I had when I was younger, I had one of the characters in one of my stories was named Karina. Hey, that's my mom's name. I guess she carved it out of something pointy when she was little. She sure was a rascal, damaging the furniture like that, okay? She would scold me for a week if I did something similar, though. Should I remind her about it? No, she's been in a bit of a bad mood lately. I imagine her being my age sitting under this table. I wonder, was Mom afraid of the dark back then? You never get over the fear of the dark, just saying. Or the sounds coming from the attic? What? Or the thick forest. Baby, that thick forest. This is creepy. Grandma's creepy. I imagine my grandma coming into my little mom's room, sitting at the edge of her bed, where Olia sleep nowadays, and saying this in her soft, smooth voice.
Тайга особое место, детятка.
Taiga is a special place, little girl.
Она к тебе присматривается, принюхивается,
It's watching you closely, sniffing you out,
словно хочет понять, что ты за зверь такой.
trying to discern what kind of beast you are.
Понравишься, в беде не бросит.
If you are a good sort, it won't abandon you in times of trouble.
А будешь проказничать, схватит за бочок и утащит с собой под землю.
This babushka is very creepy. I'm gonna say it now. This babushka is very creepy. But if you're a bad apple, it'll grab you by the side and drag you under the ground.
Тут и дело с концом.
And that would be it. Grandma was caring. She never fought with anybody, never yelled, never swore. There were times without the maddening screams until late at night. What? Wait, what? Those were the times without the maddening screams until late at night, without smashed dishes and mutual accusations. I'm sorry, what happened? Our parents used to love each other back then. Oh. I remember listening in on one of their conversations by chance. They were talking about Grandma getting prepared for her funeral. She had already bought a casket, and she called it her cute funeral box. It waited for its time in the closet patiently. All right, keeping your casket in the closet, a bit sus. A bit sus. Not gonna lie, a bit sus. At least put it out in the shed or something. It was black, upholstered with meat-colored materials on the inside. I saw it when my grandma was getting buried. The house didn't change since the time she was alive. Only all of the photos were gone. Glass-covered pictures with gray faces of my ancestors. They had all died. They all had a dead but watchful look in their eyes. I crawled out from under the table. Olia was done with her cookies, and she was looking at my share like a sly woodland critter. I turned my gaze toward the frosted windows. There were a lot of dark pines outside, but they didn't grab my attention. The pattern of the frost formed a picture on the glass.
Оля, гляди, лиса!
Okay. Olia, look, it's a fox!
Где?
Where? It looked almost like those optical illusion thingies they put on the back of the student notebooks. A mixture of lines at first glance, but if you blur your vision a little bit, squint your eyes, and look at a certain angle.
Да не на улице, на стекле.
Not outside, on the window.
Смотри, вот нос, вот.
Look, here's the nose,
Ну-ка,
and here's...
двигай.
Hey! Eat up! Eat up, you two! Ah, porridge!
Да, да, сейчас.
Yes, just a moment.
Я ничего не вижу.
I don't
Живо.
see anything.
Совсем немного осталось.
Why is she so angry about porridge? Hurry up, there's not much left.
А, вот.
There it is.
О, все равно не похоже.
But I still don't... But there it is. But it still doesn't look
А
like
я
one.
говорю, похоже.
And I'm telling you, it does.
Не-а.
Nya.
Похоже.
Bahosha.
Прекратите! Ну что за дети?
Stop it. These kids, I swear. Now I couldn't see the fox either. Oh. It disappeared. Went away. Only the frosty patterns, similar to stretched out nettle leaves, kept creeping up the glass. Oh my god. Man is buff. He's got slick hair. He's got a big old jawline. Like, why can't I got a jawline like that? Because I'm a big boy. My dad entered the kitchen with long, measured steps. I want to have a beard like this when I grow up. Oh my god. I talked about that. All right, how do they get two blonde kids from people that obviously don't have blonde hair? Like, dark hair made two blonde kids? I ain't seen it, Chief. I ain't seen it, Chief. I'm just gonna say it. I ain't seeing it. Maybe that's what they were arguing about. I don't know. Mom would always ask jokingly, "Come on, shave it off. It stings." What? This was so long ago. Nowadays, rumbling doors and witty comebacks were an everyday occurrence. Olia always covers her ears when she hears something like, "What's the point in all this?" through the wall. "It's all for your sake," Dad would reply, "for the sake of our family." I always caught every sound in fear of hearing the most dreaded, the deadliest word that started with a D. "He's talking about divorce." D-I-V-O, I don't want to finish it. Divorce! It was scary to imagine that me and my little sister could be torn apart and taken into two different
Да что
families.
твоя лиса? Вот у меня на окне сова.
Anyway, your fox is nothing. I have an owl on my window.
Опять ты со своей совой.
You and your owl talk again.
Ты же вчера мне верил.
You said you believed me just yesterday.
Никто ключи от машины не видел?
Has anybody seen my car keys?
Вроде оставлял на подоконнике.
I remember leaving them on the windowsill.
Вроде.
Right.
Вроде оставлял.
Maybe you did. Maybe you didn't. Maybe not.
Вроде взрослый мужчина.
You're a
Вроде
grown man, a
вроде-
father of two, and you still lose your car keys. You're an embarrassment. That's what I'm feeling. That's what I'm feeling. That's the vibe I'm getting.
Перестань, пожалуйста, Карин.
Karina, please stop. Why did she just go at him? I mean, maybe they had some confrontation before this, but I don't know. It's weird that she just went at him like that. Karina, please stop.
Дай мне спокойно собраться.
Just let me get ready in peace.
В корзине твои ключи. Возле телефона.
Your keys are in the basket near the phone.
Огромное тебе человеческое
Well.
спасибо.
Thank you very much.
Антон, ешь быстрее, а то как
Anton,
мученик
stop making a
сидишь.
martyr out of yourself and finish eating already.
А сова?
But the owl.
Не было там никакой совы.
There was no owl. Aw. But there was one.
Глазюки огромные.
It had-
Во, и светятся.
It had giant glowing eyes. Oh my. Olia sprung up from the chair and placed her hands on her little face, imitating a pair of eyes with her fingers, the size of an apple each.
В прошлом году бабай в шкафу. Сейчас сова?
What is a babai? Oh, look, glossary. What is a babai? Babai is a Slavic folklore, a nocturnal spirit used by parents to threaten their ill-behaving children. Last year you had a babai in your closet, and now this owl?
Я же видела.
But I saw it. Olia shifted her gaze back and forth from dad to mom to me, but couldn't find any support.
А ты не думала подружиться с ней, нет?
Have you thought about befriending it?
Вымышленными
You know,
мышами
like feeding
покормить,
it with
например.
imaginary mice?
Не подначивай ребенка.
Don't bully our girl.
Просто мала еще. И спать одна боится.
She's just afraid to sleep alone because she's still little. Olia pouted her lips in rebellion and rushed into the hallway. I wonder why, if that's the reason she sleeps in their bed every night, and that's the rift that was caused by the father and the mother. That's their rift, was the child sleeping in their bed every night still. The stances that led. Wait. Whoa. No. Okay. She's just afraid to sleep alone because she's still little. Olia powdered her lips in rebellion and rushed into the hallway. The staircase that led to the second floor creaked. Mom gave Dad a strict look. Oh, that look in her eyes. It's so uncomfortable to be pinned under it. Dad just snorted in reply and left, ringing with the keys he just found. A minute had passed and the theme song from The Little Mermaid echoed through the house. It was stored on an incredibly worn-out cassette tape, which Dad had already had to glue together once. It's so easy to fix objects by gluing them back together, for example, but how do you fix a relationship? I don't know. I don't have the answer for you. Mom moved to the living room and I was left alone, anxiously stealing glances at the window. Olia had trouble sleeping ever since we moved to this house. She would toss and turn or curl up into a ball under her blanket. Sometimes she would jump up in the middle of the night and turn on the VCR. Cartoons helped to take her mind off all the troubles we had with the move and our parents. Oh my. And then Olia said she saw that giant flying monster out her window. She became obsessed with it. Our parents did everything in their power. They tried every little trick to get rid of these ridiculous fears. Olia refused to sleep alone and didn't believe that the owl was just one of her nightmares. Why didn't they just, put like curtains on the window? I don't know, curtains, like blackout curtains would. Oh, I'm blinded! Blackout curtains work really well, just saying. Just saying. After last night, I was unsure what to make of my sister's words, what to think of it myself. Can nightmares be infectious? Maybe. Maybe they can. That night, I couldn't get a wink of sleep and ended up thinking of what to expect from my new school. There were a couple days left before the beginning of the new term. My imagination drew long, twisting hallways that led to a classroom full of kids. But all the students behind their desks were simply dark figures cut out using a template. Circular holes gaped in the middle of their faces, and pairs of eyes blinked inside those holes. It was as if someone, or excuse me, it was as if some completely different creature were looking at me from behind that flat, black silhouettes. Their cruel glares, filled with icy sneers, made me shiver from head to toe. Will I survive here? Won't they gang up on me, beat me down, stomp on me with the bloodied shoes? The damn school can burn for all I care. I just wish for anything to happen to it. It doesn't really matter. What? I didn't want to go there to be... Okay, alright. Disclaimer, YouTube, Google. Everything you're hearing is a video game. I do not share these views. Just a disclaimer, I am reading the video game. Let's continue. I didn't want to see people who were just itching to smack me on the head, trip me up, think of a new offensive name for me, worse than the previous ones. I felt like the glasses I wore made me an outsider or some sort of monster. My gaze slid across the drawings hanging on the walls. I couldn't consider myself a great artist, but Olia begged me to hang them. Drawing was the only thing that made me happy as of late. The small circle of friends I had also enjoyed my paintings, and they promised to call me from time to time. Sometimes I imagine my mom picking up the phone and saying in a cold voice, "You've got the wrong number." Or, "Anton is not around." Anton is not around. I imagine my future classmates lying in their beds just like me, listening to the howls of invisible werewolves outside their windows. Maybe my new classmates will like me after all. But who would ever like a boy with thick glasses? I mean, my dad used to wear glasses when he was little, and now he's married to the most beautiful woman on the planet, my mom. The house creaked, pressed by the wind. The condo we used to live in, a 9-floor concrete building, buzzed with the neighbor's drill, mumbled with a TV set from behind a wall, cried like a baby from the big family next door. Our current house, though I can't really call it new, was completely different. It was silent and easy. Oh, sorry. I was like, wait, I can't read this word. What is this? What's going on? It was silent and easygoing during the day. Its shadows lay dormant in the corners on the closets. Cobwebs and under the stairs? What? Its shadows lay dormant in the corners on the closets cobwebs. On the closet cobwebs. Okay. The break had me confused there. And under the stairs. But they all woke up during the night. Something was watching me from every corner, almost as if the old photos of my deceased family with their ashen eyes were hanging on the walls in place of my drawings. The floor was squeaking, rusty drains were moaning, the attic was occupied by noisy drafts. One could think of the house was performing some sort of demonic melody. And then I realized I was, in fact, hearing music. It was already playing for a good while. Somewhere at the edge of my perception, I could hear a flute. It was mixed in with the sound of the wind, of the creaking old house, and my thoughts too. I stood up and rushed to the window. I wanted to reassure myself that this music was nothing more than a product of my imagination. It's not like someone was playing it there, amidst the cold, snowy night. Right? Oh, they had blackout curtains. Oh my god. Someone was dancing in the field. Black silhouettes I could barely make out with the dark forest as their backdrop. They jumped around, They jumped around, basked in moonlight, bumped into piles of snow, and rolled around, crawled on all fours. Stories about wolves playing under the moon came to mind, but these were clearly not wolves. They stood upright at times, circled around holding hands, and whipped up the snow, disappearing into the shadows for a brief moment and then coming back. Something bizarre was going on. Shadows dancing in the starless abyss made my imagination go wild, making me anxious at the same time. Suddenly, the music had stopped. The dancing shadows froze in place, and I could swear, pierced me with their eyes. One of the silhouettes immediately parted from the bizarre shadow carnival and sprinted across the field with giant leaps. Whoa. It glided on squeaky snow without leaving any prints until it was devoured by the pitch black shadow of my house, which became ever darker and thicker. My heart was jumping around like a bird inside of a cage. I shut the curtains with a swift motion and stepped back toward the bed. They saw me. A freezing torrent of fear washed over me. I stood in the middle of the perfectly dark room and listened to some unwanted guest move and scrape around, looking for an entrance. The sound moved to the right, then circled around the house. Now my guest should be at the front door. I jumped into the bed and covered myself with the blankets as if it could protect me. The shackles of fear locked my muscles. I remembered the funeral. My grandma lying there, hands crossed on her chest, her facial features sharp like that of a tin doll. Ants running up and down the legs of the chairs that held my grandma's casket. I imagined those little creatures climbing up her head and pulling up her eyelids with their tiny legs. Then her wrinkly eyeballs would once again move inside their sockets as she'd be able to see her grandchildren. I was chanting the spell she taught me throughout the whole procedure, and now, lying under the blanket and listening to squeaks and howls, I was repeating the same words.
В синем океане стоит домовина, в ней сало и глина, волосы седые, чертям еда, раба Божьего Антона не тронут никогда.
On the island of Buyan, underneath the blemished sun, in the sea of color blue, stands a cabin made of wood. There lay lard and ashen hair for the spawn from the devil's lair to feast and always leave alone. God's faithful servant named Anton.
Если забудут дорогу к дому,
Evil leave this house must.
мертвые к мертвому, живое к живому.
Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Bizarre sounds had disappeared. I cautiously peeked out from under the blanket and saw the curtains waving around like a hanged man, and then the night doused me with a new portion of boiling terror. The sound scratched at my eardrums. In reality, something or someone were scratching at the front door, hurriedly clawing at the wood, demanding to be let in. The door was shut. Dad had become very cautious recently, so he installed a sturdy lock. I remember him staring at the forest intently, as if he were looking for someone.
Мертвое к мертвому,
Ashes to ashes,
живое к живому.
dust to dust. I hugged my knees, placing my chin between them, and drilled the door with my eyes. It was so flimsy and weak before the might of darkness. And then, the doorknob twitched slightly. Then it turned halfway once, twice, as if the person who tried to enter had no hands. The doorknob tilted once more, and then started clicking violently. My jaw cramped with fear. My wet fingers clutched the blankets. The door creaked and opened. The wind taunted me, moaning inside the tin drains. Now, you'll see. The door was wide open. The darkness writhed inside the carnivorous mouth of a doorway. 2. Shah. It was as if the night itself was calling out to me, flapping its black wings and squeaking with rusty hinges. I was trembling, ensnared by the web of darkness that hung in the corners of the room, waiting for the one who weaved it to come out of the gaping black hole. 2. Knee. My abdomen tightened and my chest rose up, ready to exhale a desperate scream. Before I was able to do anything, the darkness asked me, Tosha? You sleep? My sister's pale face protruded from the thick shadows. I almost screamed from relief.
Оля, я не сплю. Что
Olia,
случилось?
I'm not sleeping. Did something happen? Olia frowned and stuck out her lower lip, a clear sign she was about to cry.
Оно опять прилетело и пялится на меня.
It's there again, staring at me.
Прогони ее, Тоша.
Shoo her away, Tosha, please.
Я так боюсь.
I'm so scared. The fear that was tormenting me just a minute ago crawled away and hid somewhere in my stomach. I needed to calm Olia
Это
down.
был сон, глупая. Не пугайся. Сны не кусаются. Никто тебя не обидит.
It was just a dream, silly. Don't be scared. Dreams don't bite. No one's going to harm you. Olia sobbed. She was trying her best to believe me. But was I sure myself?
У меня есть идея.
I have an idea.
Пойдем к тебе в комнату, видик посмотрим. Спящую красавицу, например.
Let's go to the room and watch Sleeping Beauty.
Тебе же нравится этот мультик?
You like that cartoon, don't you?
Почему у спящей красавицы принца у меня эта страшная птица?
Why does the Sleeping Beauty have a prince and I have this scary bird? The question took me by
Ладно,
surprise.
давай посмотрим Золушку.
Alright, let's watch Cinderella. My thoughts became tangled and fuzzy. What was that? What studied me with its eyes while dancing feverishly under the moon? The darkness was clinging to the window, and it couldn't be fooled by Grandma's old chants. It couldn't be satisfied with a feast of lard and long ashen hair.
Тоша, ты идешь?
Tosha, you coming?
Да, сейчас.
Yes, just a moment. Whoa. Okay. That's why I didn't want to laugh at Olia and her owl in the morning. Who could be visiting us here in the middle of the nowhere? We don't know anyone around here. So persistent. It felt extremely unsettling just from a silly thought of that our morning guest could have come from the woods. I could barely hear voices coming from the front door. My mind was urging me to hide. In the closet, under the table, behind the curtains where Olia always hides. Tosha, come here. I felt like kettlebells were tied to my feet, but still dragged them toward the hallway. A couple of policemen towered over me in the doorway. They smelled like frost and worry. My mom always winced and grumbled the moment she saw patrol cars. Worse than bandits. At that moment, though, she looked somewhat confused. Hello? The senior officer, who wore a grim expression, nodded.
Мальчик вчера потерялся. Вовой зовут.
A boy had gone missing yesterday. His name's Vova.
Глянь, пожалуйста. Ты его не видел?
Look at this, please. Have you seen him? The policeman held out a photograph to me. There was a ginger boy around the age of elementary school, pictured with a wall carpet as the backdrop. A wall carpet? He had a striped cat in his hands and wore a wide smile.
Нет.
No, I haven't.
Точно? Посмотри внимательнее.
Are you sure? Look closely.
Где мне его видеть? Я тут никого не знаю, да и из дома-то почти не выхожу.
Where would I see him? I don't know anyone around here. I barely leave the
Может,
house.
видел в окно?
Well, maybe you've seen him from the window.
Да. У тебя ведь окна на лес.
That's right. Your windows look straight at the forest, don't they? The window.
Нет, не видел.
No, I haven't seen anything.
Ясно.
I see. He sounded tired, but his eyes, his stare, long and heavy, was full of suspicion. I squirmed unwittingly under the weight of guilt which his giant shadow cast over me. The policeman finally tore his eyes from me and glanced over the hallway, the stairway, and the cracks in the ceiling which I hadn't noticed before for some reason.
Вы, кстати, как на новом месте? Попривыкли уже?
How do you like your new place, by the way? Getting used to it?
Понемногу. Только вот дочка маленькая по городу скучает.
Bit by bit, just our little daughter misses the city a lot.
Скучает, значит. Из местных вас никто не беспокоит?
Misses the city, huh? Have the locals been treating you
Все
well?
хорошо, спасибо.
Yes, everything is alright, thank you. The policeman pierced through me one more time with his brown eyes. My head started spinning.
Может, вам помочь как-то?
Can I help you somehow? I asked that in the shaky voice that looked like a polite boy, and to the end of the unpleasant conversation
Я
sooner.
вот стою и думаю,
Now that I think
ты,
about it,
малец, на племеша моего похож.
you look just like one of my nephews, little
Шустрый
fella.
парнишка твоих лет. С такими же окулярами. Все книжками зачитывался. Детективами.
He's a witty boy around your age, wears the same type of goggles. Goggles? Haha, always engrossed in reading those mystery novels. Goggles, novels, nice.
Когда летом погостить приезжал, говорит, что в школу милиции мечтает поступить.
Told me he wants to enroll in police school when his family visited this
Как
summer.
я. Хотел людям помогать. Смекаешь?
Wanted to help other people, just like me, see? I felt uncomfortable, as if a distant relative and not a police officer stood before me.
Ох, ребятушки.
You know what?
Сидите-ка вы лучше дома. Не ввязывайтесь ни во что. Жизнь сейчас совсем другая пошла.
Little boys like you should stay at home, steer away from trouble. The times have changed so much. The times have changed so much. Mom interjected in a cold voice.
Мне ли не знать?
You don't say.
Ну да ладно.
Well then.
Ты, Антон, в каком классе учишься?
What grade are you in, Anton?
Шестом.
6th grade.
Друзей-то на новом месте еще не завел?
Have you made any friends here so far?
Нет, я
Not
только
yet.
после каникул в школу пойду.
Not yet. I'll be going to school for the first time after the break.
Тогда вот вам на всякий случай мой номер. Звоните, если узнаете что.
Then I'll leave you my number just in case. Call me if you have any new info. Weird, very weird. The policemen were gone along with their shadows, the smell of cheap cologne, and the photo of a smiling boy. His face still stood before my eyes. I wondered if it was like... God, I cannot speak. I wonder what it was like for him, being all alone there. Uh-oh. I skipped one. For some reason, I thought of the forest swaying in the wind. What did his poor parents feel? And what would my parents do if I had gone missing? Would they cry and thrash around hysterically? Or would they accuse each other like they always do and forget about me eventually?
Мам, а Вова этот в нашем лесу заблудился?
Mom, this is Vova. Did he go missing in our forest? Oh, Mom, this Vova, did he go missing in our
Выходит,
forest?
что так. Бедный ребенок.
Seems like it, poor child. I looked out the window at the road. The police UAZ drove off toward the village. UAZ, a Soviet and Russian off-road freight passenger car brand, which was produced in the Olia car factory. Interesting. The officer's nephew came to my mind when I was splitting. The officer's nephew came to mind when I was splitting off old paint on the windowsill. I remembered all the teenage mystery novels from the Black Kitty series I read this summer. A series of contemporary Russian original or translated teen mystery books. Your average boys and girls investigated all sorts of mysteries there. They looked for clues, spied on suspicious people, and after a set of amazing adventures, bam! Solved any complicated case. They became local celebrities and must have made their parents very proud. I noticed a trail of policemen's footprints that led to the forest, and then it clicked on my head. Why don't I start an investigation of my own? Maybe I'll find the lost boy, and I'll get a reward. Olia will be so happy. And not only Olia, Mom and Dad too. Maybe they'll even forget about all the quarrels for a while. Maybe I'll even save us from the divorce word. I fantasized about buying Olia a Tamagotchi and getting a cassette player and a bunch of tapes for myself and a whole box of Kinder Surprise. When was the last time our parents bought us any toys? Last autumn, I think. My dad had lost a job at the time. And there's that annoying song about it. I counted a song by by an all-female Soviet pop band named the Kombinskoye Combination that becomes widely popular in the early 90s. I had little to no idea what was the accountant's job like. They count money, I think. Neighbors used to envy us, but nowadays, Mom and Dad barely had money to afford sweets, and Dad would always divide a single chocolate bar between me and Olia. Sometimes I gave her my share, too. No matter how much I wanted to eat sweets, she was still just a pipsqueak, and I couldn't wait to go out looking for clues. I'm going outside.
Ага, сейчас.
Yeah, right.
Чтобы потом милиционеры с твоей фотографией по домам ходили.
You want the policeman to go around with your photograph
Лес
next?
вон какой густой.
The forest is so
А
thick.
если мальчика звери дикие утащили? Или того хуже?
What if the boy got snatched up by wild animals or something even worse? Even worse echoed through the hallway.
Да я рядом буду. В лес не пойду.
I won't go far. I'll stay away from the
Что я
forest.
тебе сказала? Мне дважды повторять.
Did you hear what I said, or should I repeat myself?
Лучше портфель собери или соли поиграй.
Better go pack your school bag or play with Olia. The sound of splashing water came from the kitchen. It meant that the argument was over and Mom had the last word. I can go to the kitchen, I can go to the front yard, or I can open this. The dark, stuffy closet. There's an axe. Mom says it smells like mice, but how would she know their smell? She hates when I stick my nose in there. She's afraid I'll cut myself on the freshly sharpened axe. And Olia can't even be lured close to it. She thinks Babai is living there. I tried to help her fight her fears once. I opened the door and turned on the dim lamp so she would see there was nothing but cobwebs, Dad's tools, and scratched walls. She still didn't believe me. And I looked to hide in the closet and listened to Olia count outside. 1, 2, 3. Better hide from me. And then drag her feet on the creaking floorboards, hoping that she wouldn't need to look for me in the cramped monster's den. Interesting. Oh. The Cross had seen so many people come in and out, come and go in this house. It was black, as if it absorbed all human sins from the longest years it was hanging under the ceiling. After Grandma died, Mom was going to take it off and hang a horseshoe in its place as a lucky charm, but she cut herself with the cross's sharp corners and almost fell from the stepladder. Dad called it a sign from above and ordered the cross to be left alone in its rightful place. Interesting. Oh, look, yeah, so we got a couple other things we can click on. Mom's peg top, a family relic. My mom played with it when she was little, then she gifted it to me. Olia was next in succession line. The toy belonged to her now. She stared at the dancing spindle as if it could show her something, a fairy tale, or maybe even our own future. Now, even my little sister was a bit too old for the old squeaky peg top. My parents prohibit me from making long-distance calls, but from time to time, I really want to hear my old friend. Sometimes, I would just pick up the phone, listen to the low hum of the zoomer and the distant crackling, imagining the wind howling in the ice-laden chords. So I can go to the kitchen or to the front yard? Anton! I'll whip you? Oh my god. I need to distract Mom somehow, or I'll get scolded and my ass whipped with my dad's leather belt. Oh my god. Lie to Mom, open, turn back. What else is here? Okay. I took a peek at my mom's crossword. She would get very angry when someone gave her advice. I keep clicking. I took a peek at my mom's crossword. She would get very angry when someone gave her advice, so me and Dad faked knowing the answers and being about to reveal it all the time. I smiled at the fleeting thought. Vertical 9 letters, the name of the Philistine deity that protected them from the viper bites and had a nickname, the Lord of the Flies. The second letter is E. Indeed. The decrepit and stain-covered calendar was once my favorite form of entertainment in my grandma's house. I remember waking up and running to the kitchen so I could tear off yesterday's leaf first thing in the morning, as if coming day would get lost in the taiga forest without my help. One day closer to New Year's, one day closer to Grandma's funeral. I haven't touched this calendar for years now. Since that time, they started writing dark and spooky death chants that only made me gloomy instead of funny proverbs and superstitions, to be exact. I grabbed a dusty calendar leaf with a caution and tore it off effortlessly. Sadly, the spooky descriptions from my childhood were still there. 7 horses carry the log. If 7 can't carry, bring the 8th from the ferry. They will take it away and never come back. This is a fate that log cannot escape. I crumpled the gray leaf and threw it at the waste bin, hoping to get rid of the anxiousness that washed over me. It was spreading inside me like an ink stain on the blotting paper. The side of the old ocean freezer was checkered with my childish drawings and Mom's recipes of all kinds of stickers, from bubblegum with dinosaurs that Olia liked to play so much. Oh, I cannot speak. Among that still life picture hung a piece of ruled paper with the phone number of the police officer who visited us. First Lieutenant Tikhnov. I read inside my mind. I accidentally skipped through it. I read inside my mind, looking at the officer's sprawling handwriting. A scrap of paper was held by 2 pieces of broken magnets from some old Soviet toy, and those pieces just barely covered up the numbers, as if to taunt me. I leaned towards it to unveil the mystery and take the piece to a safer place that I would wait for us time. I would finally find Vova and be the first to call the police with the happy news. Anton! Mom's reproachful eyes stared at me. What do you need it for? Hands off, you'll lose it. Angering my mom was the last thing I wanted, so I lowered my hand. I guess the radio. Emercom of Russian has declared the state of emergency due to adverse weather conditions. According to the weather forecast, the cyclone... according to weather forecast, the cyclone is moving towards the region. Expect heavy snowfall, blizzards, and snowdrifts on the roads. Keep your eyes open and take care of yourself. Interesting. Oh. Grandma kept ice cream for me and Olia there, but now I could see meat bits for soup and clumped together pelmeni? I grew to hate them already. What is pelmeni? A Russian variety of dumplings made by boiling thin, unleavened dough filled with mincemeat. One may even call it Russian fast food. Interesting. There's nothing else to click on in here. It was difficult to lie to Mom, but there was no other way for me to run away from home. Mom, something's wrong with the TV. The picture is dim and there are stripes all over the screen. Mom's face became visibly distorted. Ugh, you're killing me. So have you had enough of the shooting those stupid ducks now? Told you the kinescope will go dim because of your console. They're talking about the Nintendo console, the NES, with the Duck Hunt game. Where will we find a TV technician in this hole, huh? Maybe it's just the settings? Please go see for yourself. Strange. It worked fine this morning. Maybe the snowfall caused it? Mom rubbed her head clean on her apron and went to the Olia's room. Alright, anything else? Turn back. Alright, to the front yard. To the front yard we go. I opened the front gate and went into the field. Carefully so Mom wouldn't see me from the window. When I crossed half the distance toward the forest, the snow piles became as high as my knee. I remembered my nightly fears. I saw those silhouettes around here. They were jumping around, holding hands. That hypnotizing music started playing in my head all on its own. In the light of the day, those distant figures felt like a simple dream. The sun churned my nightmares to ash, but the aftertaste was still there, distance ringing in my ears, distorted shadows crawling on the snow alongside me, and a barely audible whisper in my head, blurry and almost kind. Everything was silent. So silent I felt like the world was totally empty. No ground, no sky, no parents, no Olia. The time reached its limit. A one-way trip that ended at the forest's piney stockade. Sometimes silence was much scarier than any scream. Our parents would scream at each other while arguing, and both me and Olia turned to stone listening to them. But then always came the ringing silence. Our apartment became numb a couple days before we departed. It was hard to remember the last time Mom and Dad joked around, laughing, or spent time together, almost like all of it was a previous life. When they kissed with Olia present, she always frowned and snorted in a funny way. But one day it all changed. Something important had left our home, and something scary filled the remaining void. It was as if fire broke out, and our parents were hurriedly packing our belongings, trying to save themselves and us. From who, though? From the people with cold, dead eyes who sometimes visit our previous home? The eyes that only saw balls of worms on the black ground and everything? And somewhere far away a siren was going off, trying to warn us of the coming menace. I shuddered, chasing away my delusions, and I looked around. There were only me, the white field, and the wind that was whipping up icy dust and belts of powdered snow. I squinted from the sun and turned my eyes to the sunless forest. It looked especially dark in contrast with the blinding whiteness. Knobby tree roots slithered under the snow, felt like fat snakes. Rotten leaves and coniferous needles frozen into the ice. Dry, prickly branches intertwined, bringing uncomfortable thoughts about the fences. Were they protecting the forests? Or were they keeping something from breaking out? Some object was hanging from one of the pointy branches. I tried to get closer, drowning in the snow. When I almost got to the edge of the forest, I saw a knitted mitten. It was like a wounded bird among the hungering semi-dark. Should I take it to the police? The senior officer looked gloomy, but he still reminded me of the Captain Casanova from my favorite TV show called The Streets of Broken Lights. Streets of Broken Lights, a Russian mystery TV series telling a story from the daily life of Russian police officers, is the longest-running series of history of Russian TV at the moment. Oh, cool. He was also always anxious, with a tired look in his eyes, but still brave and strong. Will this mitten help them find the lost boy? Vuva. I heard a distant shout, looked like it came from the river. Vuva, as if the trees were calling out to someone. Vuva resounded closer to me. Someone was standing there behind the trees, hiding. Vuva. I knew someone was looking for this lost boy, but still, something was unsettling about this figure. Its stillness, how it was bent unnaturally toward the ground. Its blackness. There's no one there, just branches and roots. It's all just my imagination. A nearby bird flapped its wings loudly. A shadow split from the trees and disappeared from my sight. I looked away for just a moment, but when I turned my gaze back to the same place, it was gone. So it was my imagination after all. Silence reigned for a painful long time. My muscles were tightly sprung. My heart was beating somewhere in my throat. Any noise, any little movement, any small whisper from the thicket, and I'd sprint. But nothing of the sort happened. I looked at the mitten once more. Do we run away or do we take it? We gotta take it. We have to take it. I decided to take the lonely mitten from the branch. Vova! A shout rumbled across the field and dissolved into the distance. No echo, no hope for a reply. I stepped toward the bristling trees and tried to claim my find. It didn't budge. I pulled harder. The branch cracked and the mitten tore off, landing in my hand with a squishy sound, all too heavy, wet. I squeezed it without thinking and something dark spilled from it. forming a tiny string between the mitten and the snow. Steam rose from the snow pile. I froze in place, studying my palms in disgust. Red. The sound of cracking bones invaded the silence. I didn't have to think twice before running away. Someone was chasing me from the darkness, breaking pine branches, closing the distance with giant leaps. Snow was slowing me down. Crazy thoughts flew through my mind. I'll get caught. They'll get me. I'll get dragged into the thicket. I'll be gone forever. But there was one more voice, probably one of reason. It gave me strength that spurred me on. You can do it. Don't stop. I heard an animal roar behind me. It was so loud, my ears went numb. It felt like a sound had come from a pack of hungry beasts rather than a single one. Their nostrils sucked in freezing air. They sensed my fear. 2 giant wings flapped above my head. An enormous shadow flew over the clearing. A hoot, a wheeze. Their roars were coming from all directions now. From the dried up raspberry bush, from the twisted pines, from under the windfall. Run, hurry, don't look back. It felt like I was inside a nightmare. The snowy clearing became viscous like quicksand. I was stuck in place. I pulled my leg from the mushy trap just to be caught in a new one, even deeper than before. I continued to drown, sinking deeper and deeper with every desperate push. Was snow ever this sticky? I screamed in horror after realizing this wasn't snow. Someone or something in the snowy pile was clutching my pants. I gathered all my strength and rushed forward. The pressure on my leg was gone. My boots slipped out of their hole and my soles were on a hard surface again. I reached a clear path with one jump and from there ran to my house. Its gloomy facade didn't look threatening now. The house was my line of defense from the shadows that flapped their wings and the creatures that were hidden under the snow. I tripped over the doorstep and smashed into the door. In all my hurry, I still managed to notice the claw marks, as if a dog was striking the woods with its paws, demanding to be let in so it could escape the cold. I hadn't noticed those marks when I was leaving. The heartbeat in my ears was much louder than my surroundings. I couldn't hear whether someone was following me or not. What if they were already in our front yard? And my mom had locked the door. Drowning in fear, I pulled the doorknob and it obediently gave way. I rolled into the hallway and shut the door behind me. Porch planks creaked as my pursuers ascended the stairs. My fingers slipped off the lock and I couldn't click it into place. I gritted my teeth and pulled hard on the iron knob and whipped it into between the boards. I stared blankly at the door. Someone was standing on the other side of the pitfall. The pitiful, flimsy barrier that was probably less useful than the blankets. Wheezing breath reached into the house and crashed into me in waves. It smelled of pine and sweat. Mom peeked out of the kitchen and chastised me with the same frigid voice she had always used when talking to Dad. What exactly didn't you understand when I told you to never slam the door? I didn't mean to. I stuck a glance at the door. The smell was gone and the breath was too. If there was someone in the first place, of course. Here, mere 5 meters away from Mom, my fear was slowly weakening, melting like snow in spring, and with its last bit of strength, it had left my body too. My legs gave way. I propped myself up against the wall so I wouldn't fall over. Mom's expression had changed immediately. The cold mask of strictness and detachment was gone. Mom looked the same as before, all those quarrels. She finally saw my condition, my wet pants plastered with snow. Where have you been? What did I tell you, huh? I told you to stay home. Am I nothing to you too? I got afraid she would cry. I reached out to her like I was very little and wanted her to cuddle me. But Mom regained her composure fast and put her usual face. Her eyes shined like steel. Her voice rang out. Your dad can't find his cigarettes. Be honest, did you snatch them? Were you smoking in secret?
За мной кто-то гнался. Я думал, меня...
There was someone chasing me, I thought. I stuttered as soon as I started explaining myself. Tears welled up in my eyes. Mom leaned towards me and sniffed my clothes like a beast searching for the smell of tobacco. Then she squinted her eyes in suspicion and looked in the front yard. Her expression changed in an instant and she covered her mouth with her hand. Look over there, at the fence. My heart started thumping as if I had become prey once again and my pursuers were following me in the field. I could swear that I heard something scratch at the door just like in my nightmare. My mom beckoned me with her finger, and I gathered all my remaining bravery to look into the kitchen window facing my fear. I could barely discern some hairy silhouettes swimming in the snow through the icy winter patterns on the glass. Dogs. Just a small pack of strays with no name and owner, barely reminding of the hungry monsters that live on the edge of the forest.
Божечки.
Oh boy, were you scared of them? I think they'd rather be scared of you, Anton.
Они гнались за мной.
They were
словно
chasing
за
me
зайцем.
like a bunny.
А вдруг они бешеные?
And what if they were rabid? The smile had slowly disappeared from my mom's face. Now she looked at the dogs as if it was her first time seeing them.
Нападут на Олю.
What if they attack Olia?
Мам,
Mom?
Вот бы твой отец их всех перестрелял.
I wish your dad could just shoot them all.
мама, они живые.
Mom, look, they're alive. Huh? What?
Ты уж определись, они тебе друзья или
Are
враги?
they your friend or foe after all? Make up your mind.
Не маленький ведь уже.
You're not a little kid anymore. My mom sighed in annoyance, and I felt so bitter that I bit my lower lip and fixed my gaze on the cobweb-ridden corner just to keep myself from crying. Welp, some detective I am. In reality, I wasn't risking my life among monsters, but rather my parents among a pack of stupid strays. And what for? What use do I have for this mitten? Of course! A darkened, sticky mitten that belonged to the lost boy made a squishy sound in my hand. Seems like I was clutching it the whole time. It's my trump card as a detective. I hurried to present this clue to my mom.
Смотри, это Вове. Ну того, про которого утром милиция спрашивала.
It's Volva's mitten, the boy with the police were asking me in the morning. It's drenched in blood. I found it hanging on a tree. I can show it where.
Давай в милицию скорее.
Let's call the
позвоним.
police right
Как нас
away.
участковый просил.
Like the officer had told
Mom,
us to.
гляди.
Mom, look. Ew. A shadow of doubt slowly crept onto my mom's contorted face, as if she were trying to remember something distant, something. Talking for an hour is rough. As if she was trying to remember something distant, like someone tries to remember their dream, but the images slip away.
А ну-ка прекрати сейчас.
Stop it this moment.
Оля тебя услышит, с ума
Olia will
сойдет.
go insane if she
Она и
hears
так не
you.
спит. На
She
всё
already has
подряд
trouble
жалуется.
sleeping and whines all the
Ещё и ты
time.
со своими
And you
шуточками.
joke around like this? At that moment, I realized the mitten was actually wet from snow. There was no blood whatsoever. I wanted to sink through the floor from
Иди
embarrassment.
сюда, паникёр.
Come here, my boy, who cried
Иди
Wolf.
стой столбом.
Oh, don't you
Ой,
just stand there.
проблема.
Come take your
Быстро
pills. A golden-colored pill, reminiscent of a dead wasp,
Я
fell
уже
into my
пил сегодня,
palm.
За завтраком.
I already took one for breakfast.
Попререкайся мне ещё.
Don't talk over me.
Сказала дома сидеть. Нет же.
I told you to stay home, and
Глупый
you,
отец выпорол.
Dad, would have given you a good
Сейчас
whipping
же
for
этой
that.
ночью не уснешь.
Come on, take it,
Тебе
or
ведь
you
в
won't be
школу
able to
завтра.
sleep at night, and you have school tomorrow. So I had to swallow the bitter medication, drinking it down with similarly awful water that gave off a taste of chlorine. Maybe it wasn't Volva's mitten. Maybe it wasn't a mitten at all. Just like the forest monsters and Olia's owl. Am I going mad? What's happening to me? Either the pill had an immediate effect, or my over-exaggerated brain didn't let fear inside anymore. Serenity washed over me, bringing a yawny indifference along with it.
Антон, выпил? Можешь, если захочешь.
Anton, you're done. See, you can do it when you try.
Раздевайся. Уснул, что
Take
ли?
off your coat. Are you asleep?
Нет, мам.
No, Mom.
Просто
I was just
задумалась.
thinking.
Интересно, о чем же?
About what, I
Так.
wonder?
Глупости всякие.
It's just something silly. Mom scrutinized me with suspicious eyes, as if she wasn't sure she was looking at her own son and not some doppelganger that came from the
Точно все
forest.
нормально?
Is everything all
У
right?
тебя такое лицо было, когда милиционер про окно спросил.
You had the exact same expression when the policeman asked you about the
Всё
window.
нормально, мам.
I'm all right, Mom. She heaved a deep sigh. Fine. It seemed like the house had changed. The sofa's fabric had become discolored. Fingerprints appeared on the bathroom tiles. The light bulbs also felt different, dimmer and yellower. Even the saliva inside my mouth had a different taste. A melody from Aladdin could be heard on the upper floor. Olia was done rewatching her favorite Little Mermaid episode and switched to other tapes. I slowly changed into my home clothes, stopped before the sink, and studied my reflection in the mirror, like I was trying to solve one of those spot the difference puzzles. Then I went upstairs. Jafar and Lago's voice died down. I walked past Olia's bedroom and slipped into my own. I think that's where we're gonna leave it off. Oh, the forest didn't look any grim. Didn't look as grim during the day. Entangled tree branches in the distance and snowy field between our house and forest brought sleepiness to my eyes. But sometimes I would still catch myself looking in the window at the icy treetops instead of doing my homework. Like I said, I think that's where we're gonna leave it for the day. If you want me to continue playing this game, let me know down below. And I just want to say thank you to Arctic Kissoon for sending me the game. A friend of mine over on Steam. Yeah. It was a fun little hour of me reading. Again, if you guys want to hear me continue the game, let me know down below. And I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye.